Hello everyone, I'm Rob Smith with the Black Quant Edge VTF here, T3 Live with this weekend's market breakdown, and we got the election coming, so people getting spooked right out the chute. So, I've said this in many videos, anytime that the market closes on the highs or near the lows, everything's either going to look good or bad, and everybody's going to see how bad it looks. Because it's on the lows, everything looks bad on the lows. So the question here is a big Brexit triangle. How far do we get into all this stuff? Do we keep puking here? So, as you can see, we've been slowly broadening formationing them out. The slight higher high, the slight higher high, the slight higher high, and that's how they walk them down. And now, momentum shooting star, you can see this here. Here, momentum shooting star, which means they took a shot at the upside, come in, and so just like at the Brexit, we saw them pound them that following Monday, but then recover that Tuesday. So that's what we're starting off with the Momo Shutao. If you go to the Qs, you're going to see the same thing. We can break that out just a little bit further because we know that the Nasdaq has been stronger, but trying to catch up just a bit, and we got this here, and so we can tighten this up just a bit. Like so. There's your 112 and change like that to see here this bigger broadening formation here after this one up in there. Took that out, momentum shooter. We'll see how hard they want to hit that stuff, if they do. So if we go to Apple, same deal. And you can see this, like a lot of things, just shaping up that same way. Apple, however, does have this monthly shooting star and back down. So you can see we've been trying to watch these things on the monthly, talking about the lower series, and then finally took this out. Outside bar takes it up. So trying to come back into that, but you got momentum shooter daily and shooting star down monthly, trying to come off of all this action here. So we'll see how that goes. We got the small cappers. Small cappers we know are breaking down earlier. And once again, couldn't make that new high up in here. So on the monthly, how deep do they get here? And broke down through this stuff, the inside weeks, the RevStrat 1 bar down. And so, like most things you're seeing here, the momentum shooter to see there, but no longer term signals on that. So if we go to TLT bonds here, also just doing the waka. Doesn't quite make the lower low, or doesn't quite stay inside. Goes slight lower low on this. So still walking down this business here, but no new real actionable signals in there either. If we go to SVXY, and I talked about this last week, certainly starting off the month, and this was the concern here, and why we've gotten this VIX to go. On the monthly, you had a big outside month, and so we know that's a fractal triangle. And so anytime you start pulling back into something like that, that's a problem because you got the higher high here. Now the question is going to be weak enough to come down all the way and take out these lows. If you go to XIV, you'll see the similar. And so in order to come down and take this out, when I say fractal triangle on an outside bar, that means you can easily see the broadening formation on the daily, on the shorter term time frame. Something like this, and right now it's an inside day, and so the question is that it is going to just take out these levels, see the slight higher highs here, lower low there, now lower low this, or we're going to come all the way down and test these lows here, which is certainly a possibility if they start slamming them. Could be a one-day event, but they could certainly start slamming them on Monday, and that might just do it. So we want to keep an eye on that for sure. If we go to yes, the British pound USD again. Remember your old buddy? All right, last month, RevStrat down here. Talked about that flash crash being the RevStrat inside month, reclaimed and then down, and that combined with those inside weeks. And then inside weeks here, and there's a big flash crash supposedly. But then what a difference a month makes. You have here, inside week, slight lower low, RevStrat week went back to the upside, which also corresponded with new month. So that's how you can follow along there. If we go to Dow Jones Diamonds, a lot of the same thing. You got them monthlies coming off those higher highs here and then just doing the walk down here. And one of the major problems of these outside months here that we're getting back into if they really want to get them Brexits going. And like most things, you got that momentum shooter here on the daily to see how that starts off the week. If we go to Boeing, and Boeing is going inside week, and you can see this here. Didn't quite make the inside day, so it's slight higher high. The question is going to take out this whole outside bar. Walk, momentum shooter, and it would have an inside week off the top of this triangle to do it, so we'll keep an eye on that. If we go to IBM, also inside week. See how that goes, because all these inside weeks, when you have all this weakness, these things are too strong to do that. So they're either going to negate it by going back up, negating the sell-off, or they're going to reconfirm the down move by breaking to the downside. If we go to Johnny John, also inside week there in Johnny John, so tight range there. If we go to Nike, Nike's still stinking up the joint, and on the daily, would be a moment or a RevStrat daily downside if it wants to accelerate out of here. The inside day goes, takes these out, shooting star back in the inside day. And the reason this setup works, because if you take it to the downside, you got full throttle, full time frame continuity to the downside, down on all time frames. Stops go here, here, and here. And that's how they take care of business there if they so please. If we go to the XLP, and we know there's a lot of defensive names in the Dow, this has been a problem because any sell-off that we've seen over the course of the years, we've seen them go into the high-yielding stuff, and in the sell-off market, they come into here. That's not what we're seeing this time, and that's a problem. So remember we talked about this here, lower low, the higher high, lower low, higher high. Now trying to take that stuff out to the downside. And if we take a look at some of these defensive names in the Dow, you got the Coke, and the Coke on the weekly, you can see this here. Goes up and then comes back into this range here. And if you go to the monthly, so it tries to pop up here, and if you go to the monthly, still just walking down this huge thing here to see if it's going to continue lower, because you got Pepsi hanging a little better, but Pepsi still inside month. So certainly want to see if that Pepsi goes inside month and breaks down, because we are handily seeing a lot of this stuff going down. General Mills here. See, they shoot them up and then take this all the way down. Now RevStrat weak as it opens and closes back in the inside week. You got Kellogg's coming in. SJM still walking down like that. More serial Post. And Post is presently going inside month and down as well. Here. We know Kimberly-Clark has been weak since the earnings. You got Procter & Gamble, which had been holding a lot better, now going inside weak. To see if this can join the puker party over there. So we'll see how that goes. That is a problem, though, because the XLU, although not getting killed here, goes outside weak. So big chop shop in there. It does set up as RevStrat to the downside daily here. Inside day goes up and comes back in shooter. But so far, there's no rotation that we can see going in the defensive names. And so it's up to risk on to do it here. And so far, that's not happening. But we'll see. Because FAS, still fairly tight range. Monthly here, trying to take out these monthly lows here. And so the question, once again, are these lower highs here? That would be a problem. XLF, a little better. Takes out this stuff and still close to the highs, but not doing it in KRE. Inside month right here, it's still trying to walk up. But if we take a look at the big boys, JP Morgan, JP Morgan would be inside month, and it's still just not quite taking out the highs. And we've seen that be kiss of death on a lot of stuff. We just want to, have no actionable signals on it. Citicorp popped up there on the weekly and then comes back in. So this range in here, still pretty tight stuff up in here for the banks. You can see it makes the higher high. Now it's questioning the lower low, that stuff, but lack of actionable signals. You can see Bank of America doing almost nothing here. Just daily doji. Wells Fargo finally rolling back down after the corrective activity from the news. Daily shooting star down, and on the weekly, this lower range in here has a shot. Go test out the lows. If we go to, like I said, some of these regional banks hanging tough. PNC Bank, albeit red on the week, still just hanging up in this range in here, where the lack of actionable signal is going to be the problem. You do have inside weeks in Huntington Bank shares, I believe, HBAN and KeyCorp. And those guys, and let's see the KeyCorp still hanging pretty tough. If we go to STT, there's another one inside week after all this triangle stuff. It needs to get out of that. But inside week to see how that goes. U.S. Bank. And so it breaks through this range and then potentially inside week and right back into this range, and that could be a little rough should that occur. So we'll see where those go. You've got insurance names, HIG inside. You got Chubb inside, trying to get out of this range. And so down, up, down, and if this follows through, it's inside. And once again, you got three levels of stop stuff down there. If they really want to take us to town, you got Marsh & McLennan inside. AIG on the gap down does this here. See if it wants to complete all this. So like so, take out the top inside day gap down. See if we can take out more of that stuff. Let's see. You got MetLife here inside day, and you can still trying to hang around up in here with Peru. So there's a few of these things still hanging around, but as these things start to go, they would be help trigger the next leg. You've got because remember Travelers in the Dow that was getting hit. That was inside day and down, and inside week and down on Friday. We know what this thing's been doing, so it's been a little rough over there. The other ones so far holding well, but we'll see how it goes. You got MA. Potential problem here is going into new highs and then potentially outside month to take out last month's lows, because at this point Visa is inside month and down. Capital One still a little bit red, but trying to hang around in there on this here outside day. Still put in the higher lows, but that's a fractal triangle, and no new actionable signals is going to be the problem. Goldman Sachs backs off a little bit, but not nearly like the market. So still putting in the series of higher lows here. Lack of actionable signal. You have to see how they play them. If you go to the XME goes inside weak. So the CMOD still hanging around, because remember XME still inside month and potential delayed RevStrat month. Inside month countered with hammer, then inside month. So certainly want to keep an eye on that. If you go to gold green on the month still inside, starting to work up. And remember on that weekly, talk about the slight problem here. You did have that inside week that gave you this rally. You're still 4 weeks inside this bar. And so we want to see if we can take that out. You got silver doing the same thing. If you go to the GDX here, slight lower low and still trying to work its way up on the daily. Would be RevStrat to the upside. Outside bar, inside day. Hammer comes back into that inside range. Still slowly but surely trying to walk up here. So we'll have to see how far that can go. ABX here going inside day. Still keep an eye on this thing as it's RevStrat month to the upside, should those things continue. Outside of that, the steels, Nucor's inside above the monthly hammer. Letter X would be hammer, 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 but just new in the month. So the weekly would be hammer here too if they want to get the steels going, because even AKS, little guys trying to move up. How far they're going to go is another story with the lack of actionable signals, but we got that hammer in Nucor. You've got RS is another steel here, not joining the party as yet, but inside week with the market coming down. FCX starting to move a little higher compared to the market. And you can see there's going to be a lot of eyeballs in this thing here. Still in that multiple month pattern here, but monthly hammer if it wants to try and come and take some of that range out. If we get a Vale, still fighting for life. There's your monthly still right on the month, but it does go inside week up in here to see if there's any hope. If we go to crude oil, on the other hand, USO does go RevStrat month, and so in the USO here, inside countered with shooter, so below 1053 is still going to be RevStrat month to the downside. If you go to the XLE, the question is what is this here, right? The XLE inside month and trying to drop to the downside, or I think it just missed the inside month, didn't it? 94, yeah, by a few cents, just missed it. So the question is, how do we get out of this? Are we going to continue to walk slowly up this month by month, or is this oil going to start correcting and take all this stuff back to the downside? If you go XOP, little similar and a little weaker, and OIH much weaker and still stuck in all this range here. And if we go to the big boy, Chevron was leading the charge so far here, but choppy it is, and an outside week, then a shooting star after an outside week. So actionable signal to the downside potentially, and the triangle because it's an outside bar. If you go to Exxon gaps down here on the week and stays there, and for right now, flirting with this inside month to the downside if they want to take that out. If we go to BP, you see this monthly shooter and down as of right now, and we talked about this last week, and the inside week, and pow, see ya. If we go to Conoco holds on as an inside week. Once again, some of this stuff, outside of a fairly big move, you're still inside month and would have to get out of that. But you can see nowhere near those recent highs like a lot of other things, and so Conoco continues to underperform like the Oxy pig. Oxy goes inside week and inside month and down, puke, and that's a nice one. That's what we like. So still inside down for the month right now, and actually still in force. If we go to Carrizo, CRZO, still these tight range stuff, but starting off here as an inside day, so we'll pay attention to that. CWEI, what's up with this baby? It's the stock that will not die, and I thought we might get an inside week, but still running as a far right now on the weekly. Takes that outside week to the upside, so we'll see if we can get back into there if it falls apart. But right now, still gangbusters. So, and a lot of action there. You can get a little thin. You don't have to trade much, but certainly still a name to keep an eye on as far as things moving around. Concho, and you remember a lot of these ones have been outperforming. The problem was not taking out the highs and then dropping back in. Not the end of the world, but we'll see how Concho handles this. Pattern here. All these guys have been stuck in here. No new actionable signal there. If we go to Devon, remember Devon's the inside month and took it to the downside. So potentially here, if it wants to rally back and attempt RevStrat 1 bar and go back to the highs, it'd be 45. So although it's either a rebreak of the 2-bar pattern down or a rejection of those and back in. If we go to GPOR, yeah, GPOR still stinking the joint up and hanging near the highs and going inside day near the lows, or so near the lows, just walking down. If we go to Noble Energy, NBL, one of the few the proud, as of right now, is inside month and up, albeit ridiculously tight range out of this stuff. But just like Baker Hughes last month, we're going to respect that because anytime it's in that condition, good things can tend to happen. If we go to NFX, and there you go. There's your divergence. You got one going up, one going down. Inside month and down NFX. Go to Paisley Energy, PE. You can see still dojiing around up in here. But to start off the week, you're going inside day. SU, you can see this tries to take out the range to the upside, and then it goes here, inside week. So if this is a range failure back into here, inside week, that would be a real problem if it comes back into here. So we'll see if that regains its strength or tries to drop back in. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is going to have a matter of what the underlier is doing. It's XEC. And this is how some of the charts can be a little deceiving. I mean, I did talk about this potential problem up in here on the weekly and the monthly. Here, coming up and shooter counters hammer and drops back in off this large broadening formation where it couldn't make a higher high. And then you can see it on the weekly. And it looks like easy as cake, but that's why you got to look at all the charts because you can see this is no easy short. Go down, come back up, doji, gap down, rally all over the place. Now it's an inside day, so it's working. It's just not an easy trade. If we go to Slobby, and the slob here on the month, just seeing that hammer shooter. So stuck in all this stuff, trying to get out of there. No real indication on what that's going to do. With Halliburton, a little different. Halliburton would be that shooter, but it doesn't kick in. And then Halliburton on the weekly, remember this weekly triangle here, does drop back into the triangle, but it goes RevStrat weak above this. Hammer counters inside weak if they want to bring this thing back up. Otherwise, it refails these 3 levels and drops back into the triangle. So either way on old Halliburton next week. If you go to Helmerich and Payne, well, at least starting off here as RevStrat day if it wants to rally back up. Inside day countered with hammer. NOV flirting with the inside month down again, like here. Diamond Offshore, inside month and down, potential 0. As we've seen all those little guys, Tidewater, Seadrill. The question is, Diamond Offshore going to join that party? Right now it's inside month and down. That's the condition it would be in if it's going to do it. Another one, OII. Inside week here, still walking down. You can see the giant monthly disaster here. Just walking, and now another inside week. $23 to go. All right, if we go to some of the refiners, PSX just going to start off here as a big outside week, inside day, and that's going to give the fractal triangle here. Lower low, higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low, and then inside day to get out of there. Valero, inside day as well, so we'll see how those go. And EQT and the Natty, still walking down. Remember, we're identifying that weekly here. Inside week and drop, so it's going to continue to fall down here if you go to the monthly. Here, it had its corrective activity of this and now starting to roll back down. And inside day to start off. If you go to XRT retail, we got a lot of earnings out of XRT, and that's going to be interesting because remember this triangle here, debating whether this was going to return it back up or was going to be a continuation, and you can see indeed this was a continuation. Higher highs, lower lows, higher high, lower low, higher high, inside day, stop them all out, and then come down into here. That slight higher high off these, the momentum shooter, and then boom, inside day down, and now another inside day momentum shooter for XRT, but there's a lot of earnings coming out. You do have the Walmart going inside week here. So we'll see if there's any hope there. You got the Costco still getting crushed. Remember the momentum shooter here, and here's the big triangle that we're looking at in here, like so. No new actionable signals in force. I'm sorry, it is inside month and down. It was momentum shooter and inside month and down for Costco. So Costco is still the inside month and down, shooting for these other lows here. These guys in here, so far as that condition continues. If we go to Target, Target finally going to have a shot here to try and take out this bar, and this is what we've been watching for months. Whenever you're inside on a massive bar, you want to get outside of that, and then either you're going to keep going or you're going to reclaim it, all of the Googs and all the stuff we've talked about before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, but now starting to drop back in, and we're going to see how it could handle taking out 66.50. 65.50 should it get there. If we go to the auto parts, former champs. Now starting to creak a little bit. You can see the auto zone here. Takes out these highs, and you got this stuff in here. The question is going to be weak enough to take this out. Right now, still inside month. And you're starting off as an inside month, inside week combo if it wants to continue taking a shot at some downside because you got AAP. See this monthly. Starting to take shots at this stuff. You got your corrective activity and now down into here. No new actionable signal there. And O'Reilly here. Going inside week as well after a big outside to see if there's any continuation in those things. If you go to Big Lots, BIG just starting off as an inside week. Coach would be big rev strat week, inside week countered with shooter if they want to stop all these guys out and bring them down and now take another shot towards the lows. If we go to DG, another rev strat week to the downside, and everybody trying to. Problem when you start picking bottoms and they don't go. You have a hammer here that would need to get taken out on the monthly for this thing to be any good. Otherwise, you still got all sorts of problems because you got Dollar Tree doing much the same, still puking, looking at these guys, and any hope has been just thwarted here. Yay, nope. Yay, nope. Yay, nope. And now momentum shooting star to the downside if they want to finish him. If we go to Brinkers, eat. Got an inside week here, outside week, inside week to see if they want to take this baby out to the downside. Downsideways measured move. If we go to Guess, we know this thing's been hurting for a long time. An inside week, and you can remember this thing walking down inside month and down and just towards the lows if there's any hope there. Inside week, Guess. GameStop. Still all sorts of trouble from this weekly, breaking out of this stuff. You can remember this here, and then tries to reclaim down, and just GameStop just going to open up as gap down rev strat day to the downside to start off Monday. Gap Stores, which has been one of the champs here to a certain extent. You can see this upper triangle here. Is it going to hold? Inside day shooter. See if it can hold and try and take that, or is it going to drop back in towards the old Gap Stores? If we go to Nordstrom, I believe they have earnings next week, Macy's and all these guys, but Kohl's. Come on. Remember, this is potential on the earnings, the rev strat month. Inside month countered with shooter if they want to start puking again. KSS, the same if they want to start pounding those things. But earnings will tell the tale. So you got Kroger. Kroger's still struggling here. And one of the things you look for here is the weekly. 2-bar inside pattern goes up, takes all this stuff, and comes right back in for the shooter. And on the daily, that was a quick one, too. Boom, boom. That's a problem. Like trying to break out of this range, and the next day you come right back into it. Now momentum shooter. Oftentimes you take out this range, then you come in, take out these guys. So we'll see how that momentum shooter daily goes for Kroger. If you go to LB on the gap down, still walking down, and that's inside month on the still on that gapper doing the slow drive. If we go to Lulu Bell, Lulu still walking down here, but going inside weak here if there's any hope. Outside weak, inside weak. Panera Bread. Last week said it's probably going to stay inside weak, and it barely did. Here, it comes down, gets all caught in here, and then finally tries to drop down in here and in the monthly. See if there's a momentum shooter on the monthly, so we can go weak monthly momentum shooter down into here if they want to hit that. Ross Stores, one of the champs, but is Rev Strat month to the downside. Opens and closes back in the inside month, and below that, that's Rev Strat month below 61.78. Tiffany's. Nothing new here, still just hanging around here. You can see this tight range in here, so far not giving it up. And there's no indication of which way it's going to go out of here, but so far we'll just keep an eye on that as some somewhat relative strong. TJ Maxx doing the Waka Waka, finally taking these guys out, and then do start off as an inside day if they want to keep hitting it or bring it back up. If we go to the IBB, boy, we know this has been all sorts of trouble. And IBB, that monthly, this was the problem. That higher high within the series, up, and down. The question is going to be weak enough to take all this stuff out. Broadening formation weekly, certainly getting the job done. Like so. Talked about this many times. Bam, 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 bam. What's this? And then all the way back down. So the question is going to complete and get real weak and take this stuff out. Because we saw that in a lot of stuff. Like Regeneron comes down and takes out the lows. And so here, at least for Regeneron, completes this. Broadening formation here. And then as it does it, goes outside day. So it finally took out the whole slew of lows. And then goes outside day trying to come back up. Go to BIIB. Outside day as well. I'm sorry, the IBB and the XLV are going inside day. So there's some neutrality there, at least to end the week. If you go BIIB. So there's XLV. This is interesting. Let's see this here. XLV on the daily, if you take it way out, you're going to see this. Lower low, higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low, woo, higher high, and all the way back down to these guys. So now is that inside day going to continue to accelerate, or is that all she wrote? If we go back to BIIB, and you'll see, remember we were watching this, what that was in here. So these are the higher highs now. The problem is you're going to come in all the way this lower lows and all that kind of stuff. We got no new actionable signal on it. So if we go to GILD, remember this was Rev Strat week to the downside this week. And then once again, you got this outside day with an inside day. So in the XIBB, and so potential lower level triangle here is it doesn't get totally cremated by the Rev Strat week, as you can see. So it's lower level triangle out of here. Slight higher high, slight lower low. We'll watch that inside day come Monday morning. If we go to, in the IBB, of course, in Amgen, ew. Makes it right back to that bottom of the triangle. Here's that upper level triangle. Bam, 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 bam. And then momentum all the way down into here. And that's what happens oftentimes when we watch these tight ranges. And hear this. How do you get out of all this stuff? You test both sides of it. So how much worse it gets, I don't know. We don't have any actionable signals on it. If we go to ABC and these guys, these ABC on the monthly or on the weekly, remember this, gets pounded and then comes back up and now going inside momentum shooter to the downside. And once again, trying to fill the gap, and they said, right back down. And so this potential real problem here for ABC. And you're going to see MNK here dropping off in the weekly like that and going inside day here to see if they've got more pummeling in that. Remember, the monthly looks like this. This is a problem. That inside month and down, beautiful, still going to see if they're going to take all these guys out. Starting off as an inside day. If you go to McKesson, remember this, getting debacled, and this is what you want to know when you see a weekly like this. It was going to be a tough time not being inside week. It had its moments, but it had to keep going. Otherwise, you get something like this and something like this, and boom, inside week. So now you can start looking to see how we can get outside of that inside week. If we go to Mylan still peg. Walking down this, bottom of this weekly broadening formation here, and an inside day if there's any hope. So you can draw this like this. Anytime you see the lower lows like that, anytime you can see the slight higher highs like so, you can draw that. An inside day to start off for Mylan. AGIO, if there's any hope, AGIO comes up, potential rev strat weekly, the upside, inside week countered with hammer. So if this was the top of the triangle, this is the bottom. Potential help for old AGIO. What's its name, O? EW. Look at so the E dubs. Oops. The E dubs, and there's that big formation there, the monthly. Ew. So now just coming down inside day, countered with shooter rev strat 2-bar wants to keep puking out of that into that gap. If you go to HZNP, oh, how they wanted to buy this thing too. There's another momentum shooter. OPHT. Oh no. And OPHT, you can see here, they triangle them out, bring it right back to the lows, and what that does is sets up, like a lot of things here, the weekly momentum shooter if they want to continue to crush this thing. If we go to Perigo, slight lower lows, but you got an inside day there to start off. Tessero, TSRO, hanging near the highs. So that's what I'm talking about. Someone hanging near the highs, if there's any hope. Could use some actionable signals, though. UTHR, here in the weekly. Inside week opens and closes back, so that would be rev strat week to the downside and potential momentum inside day shooter to the downside. If we go to tech, like most everything, momentum shooter daily. And remember, these guys have been the pillars of strength. And the question is, what is all this stuff up in here, right? Do we get out of here, outside month, and then slight take it up, and then if we try and go back through that, we got some problems. Yeah. There's your weekly triangle there. If you go to semiconductors, you can see the rev strat from last week, still 3-week inside pattern. So even all of these 3 weeks are completely within that bar's pattern, outside bar. So we want to see how we handle taking that out, and just like everything else, you got your momentum shooter. If we go to the Facebook, and Facebook, we talked about this many times. Like, you get this tight range. Most times what they're going to do, they can take out both sides. Ready? Let's take out these guys. All right, let's take out these guys. All right, let's take out all these guys. All right, let's take out all these guys. Bam, and that's what you get. So not the end of the world, but you can see in the grander scheme of things, it's right about where it stops. Talked about that many times. You've taken out 3 months of these guys. The question is going to be weak enough to take that out. No new actionable signal there, unfortunately. So if we go to Amazon's, how they wanted to short it on the way up, and then once it's dropping in, once again, Amazon had that weekly outside bar last week, and whenever you see an outside bar and you stay below it, that's triangle expando, because it has to be, because it's out broadening formation there. How far it's going to go, another story. Momentum shooter today, inside day gaps down. No new actionable signals there, but like a lot of things starting off the month, red. If you go to Netflix, Netflix. Yeah, you get the big rally, but doesn't take out the highs. Now, even if it drops down, it's going to be a tough time not being an inside month if it doesn't go to the highs, all right? And what that means is, anytime there's a new week or a new day, this thing can go back and forth, back and forth. But if this is indeed the higher high off of this, and couldn't make the higher highs off of that, that's potentially a problem. But it would take some doing to take all this stuff out. Right now, it's just drifting back in here. Momentum shooter, momentum shooter, momentum shooter. 1, 2, 3 days completely within that bar's range. To see if they start thinking about the gap should be interesting on that. Should that start to join the puke party? If you go to Goog monthly, once again, you got the monthly shooter and down. So you can see this upper pattern here, higher highs, lower lows. How weak is it going to get out of this stuff? Here's your weekly. Takes out the highs, takes out the lows. There's your triangle. If it pops up, you got yourself an inside week. And then, here's the bigger triangle. If it wants to drop back into all this stuff, like I said, that would take some doing to really start wailing on these things, but we'll pay attention to it. If we go to AVGO, semis, hanging up pretty well. It's green on the week, and you can see there's a chop shop in here. And what that's going to give you is a real tight daily triangle. You want to be careful of this stuff. But certainly want to be aware if it starts taking a shot at either side of that. But for not right now, still holding up better than most. Baba, inside day for Baba, and Baba goes inside month and down here. So right now, Baba is inside month and down so long as it's below 99. If we go to Baidu also inside month and down right now, still just knuckle tight in this thing. And we're used to some bigger triangles in Baidu, we just haven't gotten them, but it is inside month and down. If you go to CRM CRM hit those 3 higher highs after this aberration and this business in here. So just kind of keeping an eye on this. We're watching these shooters up in here. Now it's an inside day. So as of right now, it takes out all this stuff and goes inside day if it wants to take that back up and test there. But certainly going to be aware of dropping back and all this stuff. Whenever you see these big outside bars and you reclaim them back in, it's something you want to know about. All right, if we go to Cirrus Logic. Cirrus Logic goes inside week after a big outside week, so we'll see if we can get out of there. That would be a nice move if we can get out of that stuff, but we'll see. Right now it's still inside month, inside month, and inside week. eBay still doing the drift and death, and on the monthly went to the highs and then drops back in all this stuff. That's an issue. And right now just doing the waka of death to see if they want to accelerate that. We got this old gapper here. She's probably eyeballing these guys. Here, you're 27.14. So almost right there. IDCC was one of the pillars of strength and then got wailed on. And the thing about here today, we popped up to take out this range, so you can, anybody with the tight stoppers are gone if it wants to come back down, and that gives you the inside week here. And it's quite the gap, but a measured move out of this outside bar, inside bar, and then down in here and try and take some more of this stuff out. Certainly going to be aware of that break if that takes the downside. NTGR, another one that was had a great run here, and then puke. Now the question is, they're going to keep puking her. And you got an inside week there. Here, outside week, inside week, to see if it wants to continue trying measured move to the downside. If you go to Red Hat is RevStrat weak to the downside, or went so after some higher highs here. The slight higher highs, the inside week, the slight down, the inside week, the RevStrat, the down. And what that's given us here on the monthly, giving us the inside month and down. Still would have to get out of this monthly pattern, but you do have these higher highs where it didn't go to the highs, and now you're inside month and down. We'll respect that and look for signals below 75, 73. The Twitter drying up into nothing. Outside month potential, inside month, but it is inside week to see if it wants to attempt the gap or hold the gap and puke. If we go to Western Digi just another inside week to keep an eye on. And just a few more. Like I said, when we go on the lows, we need to see some Monday stuff. But Baxter, big outside week and inside week to see if it wants to get out of that stuff, and what that's going to look like in a shorter term time frame is this aberration here. Now, what is this business in here? RevStrat day, inside week, down, sideways, measured move, and take all this stuff out, or can attempt to hold in here with a 3-bar pattern like that. If we go to Bery, B-E-R-Y, just another one of these things on the weekly. Been doing this tight range stuff, then outside week, inside week to see if it's ready to take all this stuff out, or go back to the upside, because if it does go down to the downside, it's also a monthly shooter down. If we go to BG, one of the few, the inside month and up, but don't blink, you might have missed it. But it is inside day, and so for the rest of the month, at least at this point, we'll keep that on the inside month and up list unless that changes. JEC going the other way. That's inside month to the downside to see, here's that shooter. Drop back into the triangle. And like I said, when you can see all these levels, not only is it the inside equilibrium breaking, but you can see where guys are going to be stopping here and here and here and here if they want to pound that thing. If we go to Log Me In, what a ripper, right? Starting off as an inside month, though, but you go here, inside week, outside, inside week. And the reason that pattern's important is oftentimes you get the contraction, you get the expansion, the contraction, and then the next one is the contraction, the expansion of this and the bigger move. So we'll pay attention to that thing on either side. LVS, no new actionable signals, but just acting well for the month, hanging out near the recent highs with Win going the other way and trying to puke and drop here off this inside month to the downside. So once again, tight range, took about to the upside. The question is going to be weak enough to take all this stuff to the downside, month and down as of right now. If we go to NAV, Navistar, and the Navi's still hanging around. Not quite an inside week, but you can see this range towards the recent highs, and anything that can stay that strong during this 9-day decline or whatever we got, market turns around, that's something I'm going to pay attention to. If we go to Nutrisystems, NTRI inside week, on the monthly, the question here is still walking up the Nutrisystem, and so we'll keep an eye on this inside week. So far outperforming in the market. PPG here, Now, I got an inside week, the dumper, the doji, chop them up. Now the inside week, just hit the down, sideways measured move to the downside. That would be a nice move. If we go to snap on SNA, a big outside bar, and not outside here because it wasn't outside that, but a big bar and 2 bars inside it. But oftentimes when you're consolidating within this big range, they'll try the upside, you'll try the downside. And so here, this would be rev strat back to the upside. How far it would go, I don't know, but it would be inside weak counted with hammer, rev strat upside. Sina, SYNA, uh-oh. They got him good in here, and here's an inside week, and remember she was looking so good up into here, and then pow. All this is within 1 bar's range. That gives you the inside week because it was after last month it went rev strat month back to the downside on that gap. So the question is going to be strong, weak enough to take that thing out. Tenneco, and Tenneco is one of these here where you can see it takes some of this stuff out. Like that, but not strong enough to take that or that out. And so if this is all corrective activity of the greater down, this thing could be in trouble here. That's outside month, and now going inside week here. You can see this upper level part like this. Yeah, I can see if you can get through that and start cratering. If we go to URI, URI is presently inside month and down, and would be a rev strat daily to the downside. You got Weyerhaeuser in the home builder. Daily momentum shooter below the inside month. And Tesla, getting interesting here. Tesla finally, and if there's any hope for the Tesla, you do have this 1, 2, 3, 4 month pattern that finally took out this bar here. All right, now this wasn't an outside bar, but all this stuff was in here. So we want to certainly pay attention anytime you can get this full time frame continuity back to the upside. Right now you're nowhere near it because of the monthly, but back of a reclaim over the 187.87, which it has done, or to see if it can get worse. But like I said, we got some more earnings. We've got the election. When things close on the lows, naturally everything's going to look bad, and that's why a lot of these things could happen. But as we saw in the Brexit, that momentum stuff took Monday and cleaned them all out, and next thing you know, we're going straight back up. So that's why this is just a blueprint on the weekends, and the real research goes on during the week, because that's once things open, that's what's really going to tell us what's happening. So we got an election. We are also here at the home of the world champion Chicago Cubs, working late on a Friday night. I'm going to go out and celebrate just a little bit more. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. I'm Rob Smith of the Black Quant Edge VTF here at T3 Live with this week's market breakdown.